Good morning students. Thank you very much students for clicking on my video. I am your Nagini ma'am, chemistry mentor. In today's section I am going to discuss about some important points students. What is the valence shell? What is penultimate shell? What is anti-penultimate shell? What are valence electrons? What are core electrons? Some important points I am going to discuss. Clear? So what is the valence shell? See students, valence shell. What is valence shell students? The last shell of an atom is called valence shell students. What is valence shell? The last shell of an atom is called valence shell. Clear this one? The last shell of an atom is called valence shell. Okay, Nama. Now see students, for example, I am taking the atom. This is the first shell, second shell, and this is the third shell. See Nana, this is the first shell, second, third shell, three shells I am taking. What is the last shell? This one. So this shell is calling as valence shell. Clear this one? The last shell of an atom is called valence shell, and the shell just before the valence shell is called penultimate shell. What is the shell? Penultimate shell. And the shell just before the penultimate shell, this one, okay, this is calling as valence shell. This is the penultimate, this is the anti penultimate shell. Anti penultimate shell, nana. Clear this one? Anti penultimate shell. Now valence shell is represented by n, penultimate n minus 1, anti penultimate n minus 2 students. Clear this one? So what is the penultimate shell? What is penultimate? What is penultimate shell? The shell just before the valence shell. Correct? The shell just before the valence shell is called penultimate shell. It is calling as penultimate shell. Okay, next, that means this is the penultimate shell. Next, coming to the third one, anti penultimate shell. Anti penultimate shell. What is anti penultimate shell? Here Nana, valence shell, other names also there. Valence shell is also calling as ultimate shell, outermost shell also. Correct? Valence shell. And next, what are the another names students? Outermost shell, outermost shell, or ultimate shell. Clear this one? This is ultimate shell. So like this we will call different ways students. Valence shell, outermost shell, or ultimate shell. Okay na? Two other names. Anti penultimate shell. What is anti penultimate shell students? The shell before the penultimate shell. This is the penultimate, this is the anti penultimate. Before this shell is calling as anti penultimate. That means the shell before the before the penultimate shell. Before the penultimate shell, the shell before the penultimate shell is called anti penultimate shell students. Are you clear this one? Before the penultimate shell. Now it is represented by small n, it is represented by n minus 1, this is represented by n minus 2 students. Okay, now here what are the valence electrons? Valence electrons means electrons which are present in the valence shell. Correct or not? What is valence electrons students? Valence electrons. Valence electrons. What is valence electrons students? The electrons present in the valence shell. Okay, na? Called valence electrons students. Are you following? Valence electrons. Okay. What is core electrons? Core electrons. Core electrons means the electrons other than valence electrons. The electrons other than valence electrons called core electrons other than valence electron. The electrons present in the valence shell, those are valence electron, students. Okay, Nama. Now see, students, here one example I am taking. For example, sodium. Sodium example I am taking. Sodium. Atomic number is 11, 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s1 kada. So 3s1. Now in this case, what is the valence shell, students? Valence shell means last shell. That means this is the first and this is the two second shell, this is the third shell. In three shells, which is the last shell and big number, that is the valence shell. So 1, 2, 3, which is the big number shell, third shell. So that's why third shell is the valence shell, students. So what is the valence shell here? Third shell. Okay, Nama, it is the valence shell, third shell. How many valence electrons are there, students? In the valence shell, third shell, how many valence electrons? Only one electron. Only one valence electron is present. Next, what is the penultimate shell, students? Third shell is the valence shell. Okay. Penultimate shell means the shell just before the valence shell. Before this third shell, which shell is there? Second shell. So second shell is the penultimate shell, students. Are you following? So second shell is the penultimate shell. So penultimate shell is which one? Second one. Anti-penultimate, first shell. Clear this one. And anti-penultimate shell is first shell. Clear? This is the anti-penultimate shell. Now, how many valence electrons? 1. How many penultimate electrons? In the second shell, 2 plus 6, 8 electrons are there. How many anti-penultimate electrons, students, here? How many penultimate electrons? So, penultimate shell, we know that. Second shell. How many penultimate electrons? 2 plus 6, 8 electrons. How many anti-penultimate electrons, students? How many? 2 electrons. First shell is the anti-penultimate shell. 2 electrons are there. Total 2 electrons. What is core electrons? How many core electrons are present? How many core electrons? What I told you, core electrons. So the electrons other than valence electrons. I except valence electrons. Remaining all are called core electrons. Except valence electrons. Valence electrons how many? 1. So except this electron, remaining electrons how many? 2 plus 2, 4. 4 plus 6, 10 electrons. So total 10 electrons are called core electrons, students. Are you clear this one? Now see this atom structure I am taking. Sodium atom. Total 3 shells are there. First shell, second shell, third shell. Suppose this is the atom, sodium atom. This is the first shell and this is the second shell and this one is the third shell, students. Clear this one? Third shell. Now in the third shell, how many electrons are there, Nana? 1 electron is there. In the second shell, how many electrons? 2 plus 6, 8 electrons. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 7, 8 electrons are there. And next, coming to the anti-penultimate shell, first shell, how many electrons? 2 electrons. Clear, Nana? This is the valence shell. Okay. This is the penultimate. This is the anti-penultimate. Clear, Nana? Anti-penultimate. Understood, students? Now one more example, see, Nana, here. One more example. I am taking here example nitrogen. Okay, what is the nitrogen atomic number? 7, 1s2, 2s2, 2p3. Okay, now total 7 electrons are there. Now here which shells are there? First shell, second shell. This is the first shell, this is the second shell. So that means this is the nitrogen atom. 2 shells are there, first to second. In the second shell is the valence shell. So this is the valence shell. How many electrons in the second shell? 2 plus 3, 5 electrons. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 electrons. In the first shell, how many electrons? 2 electrons. You can take anywhere. Two electrons, students. Are you clear this one? Two electrons. Now what is the valence shell, students? Here valence shell is second shell. How many valence electrons? So 2 plus 3, 5 electrons. What is the penultimate shell, students? Penultimate shell is first shell. Correct? Penultimate shell is which one? This is the first shell. How many penultimate electrons? 2 are there. How many core electrons, students? How many core electrons? Core electrons means what? Except valence electrons, remaining are called core electrons. Means except this valence electrons, 5 electrons. Okay, remaining how many are there? 2 electrons. So this core electrons, how many? 2 electrons. Understood, students? So these are the important points, Nana. So what is the valence shell? What is valence shell? Penultimate, anti-penultimate, valence electrons, core electrons. Clear this one. So this is about the some important points, students, I discussed with the example. I hope you like this video. Please, if you like this video, please like, share, comment and subscribe my channel, Nana. Okay, thank you very much, students.